Billy, you talked at different points in the season about how development is more than just on court. Relationship to Modest, how much he can learn about winning habits, what goes into the day-to-day of being a basketball player. But what role do you play in a player's development? Not just talking about Modest, but just in general.
Well, I think that there's got to be a partnership there. I think every NBA team and every NBA organization has resources for these guys to grow and develop. But like one of the biggest things he's going through right now is, and I think some of it's been because his minutes have increased. And part of the reason why his minutes have increased, he's earned it. But there's a whole different set of circumstances that come with that as it relates to recovery. And I think last game he played really, really tired. And he's got to do different things. Like that's part of his development. So, if you've got a player that's not necessarily taking care of themselves, and I'm not saying he's not taking care of himself, I'm going to say it like that, but like, is he eating well? Is he hydrating well? Is he getting good rest? Is he getting good sleep? You can maybe get away with that playing 10 minutes a game. But when you all of a sudden start playing 26, 28, 30, 32 minutes a night and on a regular basis, there's a toll it takes on your body. And he's got to learn how to manage that and deal with that, because if you have all those resources that are in place and you have a player that's not physically able to go out there and take advantage of them, then there's not a real great partnership there. But this is part of the growth development for all these guys. I mentioned the story, Patrick's, rookie year, the guy's eating, 2 chicken parmesans like 45 minutes before the game. I'm like, you can't do that. Like, these are just like, I don't think people see it. They just watch the game and look at how many points he's scoring or dunks he's got or how many minutes he plays, and therefore he's developing. To me, the development part is, can he be a consistent performer and not play in such a wide box where you don't know what you're getting from night to night? And to his credit, Modest has been pretty consistent, and I give him a lot of credit as a young player. He's handled it well and he's responded well to coaching. But to your point, I do think we, as a staff and as an organization, as coaches, play a major role in that, just as they do. There's a partnership in all of that. And it's just like you have to have someone on the medical side that's got to educate him, on, okay, you just played a back-to-back. You played 30 minutes. We're going to play again tomorrow night. Like, what does he do? He's never had to do that before. I know when talking to Coby and even Patrick early in their careers, that was really hard for them to, how do I get myself recovered? What do I do to get myself? And they've had to go through different iterations of figuring out what works for them. And I think when you look at really, really great players in this league, they've been able to figure out a routine, whether it's back-to-backs, whether it's, a bunch of games in a short period of time. They know how to get themselves mentally, emotionally, and physically ready to play. That's a huge piece of development, in my opinion, for all these guys. And it's something that I don't think these young players come into the league and just know. I think there's some learning curve and some experiences they go through that helps them learn.
Has Modest asked those questions?
Ask what questions?
Like specifically, if we got a back-to-back coming, my minutes are ramping up. Hey, what do I need to do?
We had a conversation yesterday about it, because I just quite honestly, in the game against Indiana, I made this comment. He's got to be better. He's got to be better. And I'm not talking about scoring. I'm just talking about motor and energy-wise. And he acknowledged that this has been, something for him where he's got to figure out his rest and recovery a lot better. Like, we talked a lot about that, And then what I try to do is point him in direction. Talk to Coby. Go talk to Vooch. Like, invest, find out what they're doing. Go talk to the medical guys. Go talk to the nutritionist about what you're eating. Go through your whole entire day. I'm not a doctor on some of that stuff, but I know that the really, really good players, like, I would say the guy that was totally on the extreme of that was Chris Paul. He was into every second and minute of every single day of what he was doing to take care of his body. I think Chris knew, I'm 34 years old. I'm probably not going to improve that much shooting. I'm not going to improve that much athletically, but I got to gain advantages on the margins. And for young players that have relied on talent all the time and that talent gap evens out, they have to find ways to win the margins. And I don't know if they've ever thought like that before, but there's enough resources around. So I do think, to his credit, he is asking those questions, and now it's got to be up to him to implement those things and figure out, what's going to work for him as a player.
Coach, I have a question regarding, and I don't expect you to comment on what other teams